One of the things that we can really say we know for sure in this health and longevity chasing complex biological world is the fact that everything, and I mean everything, is connected. So much so, I even made up an acronym for it, EIE. Everything interacts with everything, not to be confused with ELE. Jackie Moon's favorite motto, everybody love everybody.
Everybody love everybody. Right there up on the wall.
And listen, I get it. This may sound a little silly and obvious, but all you have to do is look at how we approach disease in modern Western medicine to see how very little we actually understand and treat our pretty cool meat suit that way. Thus, we'll be tapping on some new data today, shedding some light on the intermingledness of our 5-pound mushy membrane and 3-pound chemical filtering pouch to reiterate this very point with science, and to make up some new words like intermingledness along the way. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today, we are once again exploring why optimizing this vessel we call the human body needs to be approached in a holistic, full system way. Because we're not just a bunch of disparate muscles, organs, and intestines floating around in plain space. Although I feel like our gut microbes may be able to make it work. Anywho, by the end of this, hopefully that point resonates just a little bit more. The point that we are awesome because all of the critical bodily systems which developed in a sweet symphony of biological wonder developed together in a way which each of them have a uniquely important yet independent role in keeping us open for biological business, which is kind of the ultimate goal, right? And when something starts going sideways in one of them, it's rare and possibly probabilistically impossible that it doesn't impact another bodily component in some way, shape, form, or aspect. Thus, why we are here today to explore one of these instances where the function of our 3-pound metabolically regulating chemical filtering pouch, the liver, has a very real and critical effect on everybody's favorite 5-pound mushy membrane, the brain, and how research suggests that one of the paths to better thinking, enhanced mood, less stress and anxiety is influenced and partially modulated by the liver, all despite the biological miles between them. Good news is, the most effective fixes on the market happen to be totally accessible and deployable, but we'll get to those in just a little bit. First, we cannot continue until we explore the growing longevity liability with livers all across the world. Are livers fat problem? Despite the nearly non-existent accolades at the annual organ awards, the liver happens to be one of the hardest working unsung heroes that we have. A hero which is fighting on the internal front lines each and every day. And if you were unaware, this 3-pound metabolically regulating chemical filtering pouch has quite the job description, being the proud owner of a resume which includes over 500 vital functions. Yeah, imagine what that Outlook calendar looks like. In fact, it's so important, we actually did a full breakdown on how to support and restore its function here. But for this video, what you need to know is the fact that our collective livers are currently at all-time highs when it comes to workload and stress, primarily thanks to the ultra-processed overload of the modern Western diet. And this consistently intense workload makes it one of the first systems to experience problems when all the damaging habits of modern-day lifestyle begin to pile up. And although it exhibits tremendous resiliency and even regeneration capabilities, this chronic siege of cellular disturbances is strongly linked to degenerative changes in the liver, not surprisingly impacting its structure and function, which sets the stage for one of the most common and growing conditions at the forefront of this dysfunction, NAFLD. Otherwise known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a condition that is estimated to impact nearly 1 billion people worldwide. holy shit is right, and the numbers have been continuously going in the wrong direction, as its prevalence has grown from roughly 390 million people in 1990 to nearly 1 billion today. Now, getting a little biological, at its core, it is characterized by excessive fat deposition in the liver, which leads to oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, and longevity liability numero uno, chronic inflammation. However, research suggests that its nefarious reach actually travels much further, as it's also been notably linked to insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, mild cerebral dysfunction, and cognitive decline. Yeah, yikes is an understatement. We've even covered its cognitive impact once before, right here, highlighting how liver dysfunction impairs the breakdown of the neurotoxic protein amyloid beta, and by doing so, potentially increasing the risk of neurodegenerative disease. Yeah, you don't need me to tell you that that is no bueno for biological business. Or, might I add, biological retirement. But regardless of all that, the underlying mechanism of how exactly liver dysfunction leads to 5-pound mushy membrane problems is really not well understood. Enter this new study to help shed some potential light. NAFLD and the brain. Researchers out of King's College London sought to investigate if and how NAFLD was associated with brain function and deterioration. To do this, they crafted an animal model involving feeding 2 different diets to genetically identical mice. Half the mice consumed a diet where fat was around 10% of caloric intake, while the other half indulged on a 55% fat diet. This was in an effort to mimic the oh-so-common standard Western diet. You know, the one the majority of us intelligent walking apes indulge on for the majority of our adult life. Yeah, that one. And after 16 weeks, researchers conducted a series of tests to compare the effects of these diets on the body, and more specifically, the liver and brain. So, what'd they find? Well, first, and not surprisingly, they found that all these mice that consumed the higher levels of fat became obese and began to develop non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and insulin resistance. However, it didn't end there. They also observed that these high-fat mice displayed symptoms of cognitive dysfunction, clearly showing more signs of anxiety and depression. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, because I'm wondering too, what's actually going on at the cellular level to cause all this? Here's where things get interesting. Further analysis showed that the brains of mice with NAFLD suffered from lower oxygen levels, or hypoxia, as this liver dysfunction affected the number and thickness of brain blood vessels in a negative way, ultimately leading to less overall oxygen to the tissue, while also altering the ratio of oxygen to specific cell types due to the increased levels of inflammation. All while, might I add, the mice consuming a healthy diet didn't develop NAFLD or insulin resistance and displayed normal behavior with completely healthy brains. Makes you think. All in all, the authors concluded, this research emphasizes that cutting down on the amount of sugar and fat in our diets is not only important for tackling obesity, but also for protecting the liver to maintain brain health and minimize the risk of developing conditions like depression and dementia during aging, when our brains become even more fragile. Now, all of this is very interesting, but as we know, and in case you didn't, I'll give you a reminder, mice are in fact not humans. So I wonder, is there anything that indicates that the same type of thing could happen in our more advanced, pretty cool meat suit and 5-pound mushy membrane? Well, interestingly enough, there is. A human study which examined MRI scans of nearly 10,000 people aged 44 to 79 found that the more vascular risk factors that a person had, the poorer their brain health was. Interesting. This study, published in the European Heart Journal, observed an association between brain structure and vascular risk factors including smoking, high blood pressure, high pulse pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol levels, and obesity. Finding, with exception of high cholesterol levels, all the other vascular risk factors were linked to greater brain shrinkage, less gray matter, and less healthy white matter. And the more vascular risk factors a person had, the worse it got. Makes quite the compelling case to do things which promote and protect flow. No? Let's see how we can do just that. How to protect your liver, brain, and flow. I'd like to preface this section with the reminder that there is so much more that we don't know when it comes to the interplay between these two systems than we know. However, all of this reiterates our opening theme, that our body is ever connected. It's not isolated into walled-off operating silos. EIE. Everything interacts with everything. This example just highlights it in one of the scariest and increasingly problematic conditions that we modern humans face. So I can't reiterate the idea enough that we need to build strategies which target the holistic body rather than bits and pieces of it. And listen, the data is on our side. Modern science is indicating that a substantial portion of metabolic disease is preventable. And that certainly seems to be the case with NAFLD and cognitive impairment. But as we know from all the other talks we've had, and this one too, it doesn't just happen. You gotta do the work. The good news is many of the habits which promote liver health also happen to promote brain health. And guess what? Those very same habits happen to support full body health too. Blood flow enhancing, oxygen transporting health. Pretty convenient if you ask me. And a clear win-win if I've ever seen one. So let's not wait until it's too late. Prevention truly is the ultimate strategy. Here are some lifestyle interventions to ponder on. First, one of the best ways to promote your liver and brain is, surprise, surprise, through your fuel. Are you consuming foods and beverages which promote cellular and metabolic efficiency, reduce inflammation, and optimize your health? Or are you doing the opposite? The ultra-processed Western diet is not only a way to create a chronically inflamed internal environment, but also a way to drive the metabolic dysfunction that accelerates the conditions which impair you even more. For example, NAFLD, insulin resistance, and elevated cholesterol. So focus on eating real whole foods that your great-great-grandparents would recognize. Many phytonutrients and healthy fats found across eating high-quality animal and plant-based foods will not only help fight inflammation in the brain and liver, but also stimulate the dilation and widening of blood vessels, improving blood flow and reducing stress in the process. I will link our full guide on how to navigate the modern-day food landscape down in the show notes below. Next, we have the moving of Zebadonkadonk. Funny enough, one of the best ways to prevent the loss of your flow is to get your flow on. By performing activities that get your heart, muscle, and vascular system working, a number of bioactive compounds get secreted that reduce inflammation, dilate blood vessels, and once again, relieve stress. But it don't stop there. Moderate exercise has also been shown to stimulate neuronal growth factors such as BDNF and promote liver function. Not a bad deal, right? A good goal to aim for is working up to the range of 65 to 85% max heart rate a couple of times a week for 20 to 30 minutes. And this could be accomplished by a wide range of different exercises, from walking to high-intensity interval training, all depending on your current levels of fitness. So move that ass. Moving on, we cannot forget the GOAT of all things health and longevity, high-quality circadian aligned sleep. This literally checks all of the cellular and metabolic boxes, thus why we call it the bedrock for all of the foundational components of health and longevity. It's the time where all of your organs, including your liver and brain, rest, regenerate, and detoxify, reducing inflammation, enhancing function, and overall cognition. Thus, making it officially cool for biological school. And you can find the latest and greatest around high quality sleep on our fully loaded How to Sleep playlist and the Fix Your Sleep guide, both of which will be linked in the show notes below. Finally, other preventative interventions in the toolbox include nasal breathing, as simply breathing through your nose increases the secretion of nitric oxide, which dilates blood vessels, reduces stress, and improves cardiovascular health. It also improves your oxygen efficiency. Then we have grounding or earthing, which is the practice of reconnecting electrically with the earth. This has been shown to help neutralize inflammatory free radicals and improve blood flow. All you need to do is touch some earth. 20 minutes a day is a great minimum to strive for. Lastly, we have stress management in the form of mindfulness, meditation, and breath work. All of these have been shown to improve cognitive function and mental well-being, as well as reduce sympathetic nervous system activation. Deep dive videos on all of these topics will be linked in the show notes below. Now, this list certainly isn't the end-all be-all for interventions you can do to increase your prevalence of Jimmy Neutron brain blasts over time, but it provides a good foundation of habits for directly and indirectly increasing the odds, likelihood, and probability of doing so. So make decisions today that will put you in the very best position to prosper in the future. Remember, EIE, everything interacts with everything. Everything is connected and always will be. So use it to your advantage. Take the first step, however small it is, and start owning your health. Oh, and while you're at it, might as well ELE too.
Everybody love everybody!
Just saying.
Come on!